You won't believe what actually brought the Brown family empire crashing down. It wasn't the endless divorces. It wasn't the reality TV cameras. It wasn't the tension everyone thought they could see on screen. It was a hidden tape, a recording no one was ever meant to hear. And when that recording surfaced, everything the Browns had built, years of love, loyalty, image, and faith, shattered overnight. Robyn's carefully crafted world, the one she'd fought tooth and nail to maintain, crumbled in a single breath. What began as a whisper behind closed doors ended in a courtroom explosion that no one could have predicted. Not the producers, not the fans, not even the family themselves. For the first time ever, Meri, Janelle, and Christine rose together, not as ex-wives bound by shared pain, but as women united by truth. And what followed didn't just change their lives, it rewrote the Brown family's legacy forever. The whisper that started a war, it started small. A whisper you could easily overlook. Something faint, almost innocent. Someone had mentioned a recording. Most thought it was nonsense. Until someone hit upload. And just like that, the world heard what was never meant to leave a private phone. The clip was short, barely 30 seconds, but it burned through the internet like wildfire. The voice was unmistakable. Robyn Brown. Her tone was calm to calm. The kind of calm that comes when someone knows exactly what they're doing, but prays no one will ever find out. She spoke quickly, almost breathless, her voice low but steady. It's just 8 to okay. Cody doesn't need to know the exact amount. If it's filed under family expenses, nobody will question it. And in that one breath, everything broke. That single line, spoken so casually, marked the beginning of the end for the Brown dynasty. The $820,000 secret, according to insiders close to the family. Robyn had allegedly moved $820,000, nearly the entire shared fund, into private accounts under her own name. No shared trust. No family access. No co-signature from Cody. It was all hers. The transactions were neat, methodical, and buried under layers of family budgeting codes. It was the kind of deception only someone who knew the system inside out could pull off. But the real shock? The leak didn't come from a hacker, or a jealous relative, or even a tabloid. It came from inside. Someone within the TLC production team, someone who had seen too much, decided enough was enough. They described years of manipulation, emotional blackmail, and selective storytelling behind the scenes. That person hit send, and the dominoes began to fall. The moment Janelle pressed play, Janelle was the first to hear it. It was late evening in Arizona. The air was still. She was sitting in her modest rental laptop open, her son Gabe beside her. The file came through an anonymous email. Just one line in the subject, "You deserve to know." She hesitated, then pressed play. The voice filled the room, once, twice. By the third play, Janelle's hand was trembling, her chest tight. "She did it," she whispered. "She really did it." Gabe scrolled through the family's financial folders, a structure he once helped maintain for transparency. His voice cracked. "Mom, this is stealing." And in that moment, the truth sank in. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't drama. This was betrayal, documented, recorded, undeniable. The call that changed everything. Janelle's fingers shook as she reached for the phone. Her voice was cold, focused. "She stole the CP money," she told Meri flatly. "Over $800,000, and she used Cody's e-signature twice." Meri froze. Sitting in her Utah bed and breakfast, the place she'd rebuilt as a symbol of her independence, she could barely breathe. Wade forged his signature. She told him it was routine budgeting. "No," Janelle replied sharply. She used the family name to cover herself. Christine joined the call moments later. Her tone was steady, but her eyes told another story. "She's always had a scheme," Christine said, "but this is too far." And just like that, the three women who once lived in rivalry found themselves united for the first time in years. Not in heartbreak, but in purpose. "If she thinks she can walk away with that money," Meri said quietly, "is about to learn she messed with the wrong women." The day the tape hit TLC, days later, Robyn and Cody arrived at the TLC set in Flagstaff, cheerful, composed, pretending nothing had happened. Cody joked with the crew. Robyn adjusted her hair, smiling for the cameras. But the producers weren't smiling. One of them quietly slid a tablet across the table. "We'd like your response to this recording," he said. The air went still. And then that voice filled the studio speakers. "Cody doesn't need to know." Robyn's face went white. Cody stared, frozen. "You said you were just managing the finances," he muttered, his tone like ice. I had to," Robyn started, but Cody snapped. "You said it was for us, not for you." It was the first time Cody Brown, the man who had defended Robyn through every controversy, finally broke. The headlines that shook reality TV within hours, the internet exploded. Entertainment Weekly, TMZ, E! News, People magazine. Robyn Brown accused of transferring $820,000 in family funds, hidden audio leaked. TLC halts filming after Brown family scandal. Meri and Janelle file lawsuit against Robyn Brown. The story was everywhere. For years, Robyn had been portrayed as the misunderstood wife, the quiet peacemaker. Now she was the villain, the woman who brought down her own empire. Christine posted a detailed timeline of Robyn's financial control on Instagram. Janelle released partial banking records confirming the transactions. And Meri, with brutal honesty, shared a single quote that pierced through all the noise. "This isn't about money. It's about trust, broken beyond repair." The legal fallout within days, Meri and Janelle's legal team moved fast. They filed a joint suit demanding an independent forensic audit of the family's finances from 2020 through 2024. The claims: financial coercion, fraud, and forgery. Shockingly, Cody didn't stand in Robyn's defense. His public statement was short and distant. "We're working through internal family matters with legal guidance." But by then, it was too late. TLC suspended filming indefinitely. Robyn stopped answering calls. According to insiders, she even threatened to sue the network for airing the private audio. But the damage was already done. The internet had heard her voice. The trust was gone. The quiet after the storm, the mansion Robyn convinced Cody to buy. Locked down. The bank accounts frozen. The production contracts terminated. And the family she tried to control, finally, free. For the first time in years, Meri, Janelle, and Christine gathered together in Arizona. A quiet evening, no cameras, no scripts, no staged smiles. They talked, they laughed, they cried. But most importantly, they healed. There was no need for vengeance anymore. Robyn's silence had done all the talking. The Brown dynasty was over. And from its ashes rose 3 women, stronger, wiser, and finally unafraid to stand in the light. The empire didn't fall because of hate. It fell because of truth. And in the end, it wasn't fame or fortune that broke them. It was one voice, one secret, one line to many. Cody doesn't need to know. One line to many. Cody doesn't need to know. For years, the Brown family lived divided, scattered between households, emotions, and loyalties. But now, for the first time, they came together. Not as castmates, not as rivals, but as survivors. Meri, Janelle, Christine, and all their grown children gathered in what they quietly called the realignment. "We need to reclaim our power," Janelle said firmly. "We're done being controlled." Around her sat Savannah, Hunter, Michael T., Gabriel, and Gwendolyn, the children who had once been quietly pushed aside as Robyn's influence grew unchecked. Now they stood shoulder to shoulder with their mother's eyes steady, hearts unshaken. "She used our silence to build her empire," Christine said softly. "But our silence ends now." And that was the turning point. The day the women and children of the Brown family decided to take back what was theirs. Their voice, their truth, and their name. The isolation of Robyn Brown inside her mansion, Robyn scrolled endlessly through headlines that grew uglier by the hour. Her face, once synonymous with innocence and tears, now plastered across tabloids with words like fraud, forgery, and betrayal. She tried calling Cody, voicemail. She tried reaching TLC's legal department, blocked. No cameras. No confessionals. No sympathetic edits. Just silence. And the echo of choices she could no longer defend. I was just trying to protect what was mine, she whispered to herself. But in trying to protect, she'd hoarded. In trying to control, she'd lost everything. Her kingdom of sympathy had turned into a prison of consequence. The courtroom showdown, it was a grim morning in Flagstaff. Gray skies, thin wind cutting through the courthouse plaza. From a black SUV, Robyn stepped out with her attorney at her side. Gone was her soft-spoken composure, the carefully measured humility. In its place was something heavier. Desperation, masked beneath expensive sunglasses. The courthouse doors loomed large. Inside, the benches were filled to capacity. Reporters, bloggers, ex-Mormon activists, curious locals, all waiting to witness the unthinkable. The woman who once cried on national television, now facing charges of fraud and forgery. At the front of the courtroom sat the judge, stern, unflappable, flipping through a thick binder stamped in bold. Community Property Fund Audit, 2020 to 2024, Brown versus Brown. Behind her lawyer, Janelle sat stone-faced. No makeup, just a navy blazer and the calm confidence of a woman who had nothing left to hide and nothing left to fear. Beside her, Meri's lips were pressed tight. Her eyes, rimmed with exhaustion and heartbreak, still carried a spark of fierce determination. Christine sat nearby, a silent storm of steady defiance. This was no longer about jealousy or status. This was about justice. The moment Cody took the stand, then silence. The judge looked up. Call the next witness, Mr. Cody Brown. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. All eyes turned. Cody slowly rose from the gallery. His once proud posture sagged under the weight of reality. The man who once ruled every family meeting now moved like someone half defeated. His hands shaking slightly as he took the stand. Mr. Brown, the prosecutor said evenly, "Did you authorize the transfer of more than $820,000 into accounts held solely in the name of Robyn Brown?" The room held its breath. Cody hesitated. His throat worked. His voice cracked. "No," he finally said. "I didn't read the forms. I trusted Robyn." The judge leaned forward. "Did you know those forms carry your electronic signature?" Another long pause. Cody's jaw tightened. "No," he whispered. "I didn't know." And in that moment, it happened. The man who had spent years shielding Robyn's decisions, excusing her control, finally broke rank. The silence was louder than applause. Janelle's testimony, the reckoning. Janelle stood. Her papers neatly stacked, her voice low but razor sharp. She didn't just present facts. She presented history. She detailed the years of shared finances. How, once upon a time, all four wives had equal say. How Robyn had slowly inserted herself into every transaction, every account, every signature line. How she had convinced them all that consolidation was simpler. "I questioned things," Janelle said. "She told me I was paranoid. She said I was creating mistrust. But now we see she wasn't helping. She was hiding." She turned her gaze directly toward Robyn. "You lied not only to Cody but to all of us. You stole from our children. You stole from our future." The courtroom went still. Robyn's lawyers exchanged uneasy glances. The evidence was overwhelming. Digital signatures that didn't match. Unauthorized transfers. Backdated edits in the books. Their defense began to crumble in real time. Christine's affidavit, then came Christine's written testimony, and it hit like a hammer. In calm, devastating language, Christine described years of exclusion from financial discussions. She recalled Robyn whispering that when the other wives eventually left, she'd be the last wife standing. She said we were unstable, Christine wrote. She laughed. Said we didn't deserve equal shares. The words echoed through the room like a curse broken. Robyn's composure finally cracked, not into tears, but into a still wide-eyed panic. For the first time, the woman who once weaponized emotion had none left to use. The audit bombshell when the audit findings were finally revealed. the courtroom erupted. Judge Helms opened a thick, red-covered file labeled Confidential Forensic Summary. Her voice was sharp, clinical, cutting through the murmurs. 14 distinct transfers amounting to $823,410. 52 were made between 2020 and 2024 into 3 private accounts under the name Robyn Sullivan Brown. Gasps, murmurs, cameras clicked. The judge continued, unflinching. 2 undisclosed trusts have also been located containing properties not previously declared to this court. 1 Flagstaff property purchased outright with $412,000 in cash. A Sedona vacation home listed under a secondary holding entity. TLC series appearance fees redirected from the family LLC to a private business account, Sullivan Holdings. Meri's eyes closed. Janelle folded her arms, stone still. Cody slumped back, face pale. The mask had been ripped away. The children's future. Stolen, but the worst blow was still to come. The auditor's final section revealed that college savings funds, money set aside for all of the children, had been quietly rerouted. The Brown Futures Fund, once created by Meri and Janelle, contained only $4,712. The rest had been transferred into new investment accounts labeled Sullivan Educational Holdings and registered under the names of Tomers. Robyn's 3 biological children, Dayton, Brina, and Aurora. Janelle didn't cry, but Savannah, standing quietly beside Gabe, did. She took everything meant for all of us, Savannah whispered, and left us with nothing. Cody's fall, the king with no crown after the ruling. Cody Brown was seen pacing the courthouse hallway, fists clenched, muttering to himself. How could she do this? How could I let her do this? Later, he sat alone on a bench outside the courthouse, his head buried in his hands. For 40 years, he'd been the center of his own universe, the patriarch, the showman, the leader. Now, he was none of those things. The cameras that once adored him turned away. The empire that bore his name no longer existed, and for the first time in his life, Cody Brown was just a man. The end of an era, the audit's findings were final, the court's ruling clear. Robyn's accounts were frozen. TLC terminated filming indefinitely, and the Brown family, fractured for so long, finally began to heal in the absence of its self-appointed queen. Outside the courthouse, as reporters swarmed, Janelle and Meri walked side by side, heads high, smiles small but real. They didn't have to say a word. Their victory wasn't loud. It was quiet, powerful, and absolute. The era of Cody and Robyn Brown was over. And as the sun set over Flagstaff, 3 women and their children stood together at last, not in the shadows of polygamy, not under the weight of manipulation, but in the light of freedom. Under the weight of manipulation, but in the light of freedom. A reporter's voice broke through the commotion outside the courthouse. Mr. Brown, did you feel Robyn lied to you? Cody didn't answer directly. His jaw tightened, and his voice came out like gravel. I believed everything she said. I opened our house to her, and she torched it to the ground. Meri's power move, Meri Brown wasn't waiting for anyone to tell her justice would come. She made it happen. With the audit now public, she filed an official motion for damages and restitution. Her legal team demanded repayment of all misused family funds, the forced sale of undisclosed properties, and a criminal investigation into Robyn's forged documents. Janelle signed it without hesitation. Christine, though no longer officially a Brown, posted a video statement that went viral within hours. I might not be part of that family anymore, but I'll always stand for justice. You can't hold on to what was never yours. Robyn's collapse behind the mansion doors. Robyn disappeared for nearly 2 days. Calls from lawyers and TLC went unanswered. She sat surrounded by the spoils of her own making, designer handbags, hidden deeds tucked in shoeboxes, stacks of unopened Amazon deliveries. Once trophies of her perfect life, now evidence. In her trembling hands lay the final court notice. Sullivan Trust Holdings, 30 days to comply. For the first time in Robyn's meticulously staged life, there was no audience, no cameras, no Cody, no sympathy. only silence and the weight of her own decisions. The internet turns, the internet erupted like wildfire. Fans who once defended Robyn now demanded accountability. Reddit threads, YouTube exposes, TikToks, and podcasts flooded every corner of social media with titles like Robyn, the wife. Who brought down the Browns? Where did the $820,000 go? A sister wife's reckoning. Even TLC broke its silence. The network is reviewing all future filming plans in light of current legal developments. Cody vanished from social media. Meri, Janelle, and Christine, on the other hand, were already in talks with a new production house, a spin-off series titled Reclaimed: Life After Polygamy. And Robyn, she stayed hidden inside the walls she'd built, both literal and emotional. Walls paid for with money she once called protection. The final day in court, the courtroom was unnervingly still. No cameras, no drama. Just quiet tension and the hum of whispered voices. Robyn arrived in all black, her hands trembling, her eyes swollen. Her lawyer looked exhausted, shuffling through papers that could no longer save her. Meri and Janelle sat in the front row. Janelle's eyes were sharp, steady. Meri clutched a single manila folder, the very first document Robyn ever filed under the family name. The document that had started it all. When Judge Helms entered, the room straightened in silence. Years of manipulation and control condensed into one moment. She turned the final page of her report and spoke clearly. Without theatrics, upon review of all evidence, this court finds Robyn Sullivan Brown guilty of the misappropriation of community property funds, concealment by fraud, and the civil forgery of financial documents. Robyn's body shook. Her lips parted, but no sound emerged. Then came the sentence, swift, precise, and devastating. The complete liquidation of the Brown family trust. All homes, including those in Flagstaff and Sedona, to be sold at market value. $823,410. 52 repaid to the Community Property Fund. Now under an independent trustee appointed by Meri and Janelle, every child's stolen college fund reinstated under the Brown Futures account. Robyn permanently stripped of all financial authority within the family. Her case referred to the Arizona State Attorney's Office for potential criminal prosecution. Robyn collapsed into her chair, shoulders quivering, face buried in her hands. Her lawyer reached to console her. She recoiled. There was nothing left to protect. Meri didn't look at her. Janelle exhaled slowly, a quiet breath of finality. The rise of the others' reporters swarmed outside, shouting for statements. But Meri and Janelle said nothing. They walked hand in hand down the courthouse steps, not in victory, but in peace. This was never about the money. It was about decades of silence, of being told to stay small, to obey, to be loyal. It was about reclaiming their voice from the man who wouldn't defend them, and the woman who used their trust to build her throne. At the edge of the sidewalk, Christine waited. She pulled them both into a tearful embrace. "We did it," Meri whispered. "We reclaimed what was ours." For the first time in decades, the balance had shifted for good. Robyn's empty house that evening, Robyn returned to a house that was no longer hers. Her lawyers handed her a transition letter, 45 days to vacate unless she could repurchase the property. She couldn't. The rooms were silent. Dayton, Aurora, and Brina sat at the dimly lit dinner table. "What happens now, Mom?" Aurora asked softly. Robyn opened her mouth, but no words came. The empire she built on secrecy and fear had finally become her prison. Rebuilding the legacy weeks later, in a modest office, Meri and Janelle signed the final restitution documents. One Utah vacation home, one Arizona commercial property. 40% of all TLC residuals now transferred in their names. No champagne, no applause, just relief and quiet strength. They had earned every inch of this freedom. Janelle smiled faintly. Now we get to define what legacy really means. Cody, the fallen king Cody was last seen renting a small one-bedroom apartment on the edge of Flagstaff. No cameras. No wives. No kingdom. Just a framed family photo resting against the wall, still in its box. He picked it up. Meri, Janelle, Christine, Robyn, and himself, smiling, untouchable. Years ago, he stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "What in the world did I do?" He set it down face down. Life after Robyn's story didn't end the Brown family, it transformed it. The new docuseries reclaimed. Life after plural marriage became a national phenomenon, a raw, honest look at financial freedom, healing, and the power of starting over. Their children, once silenced, now spoke with pride and clarity. As for Robyn, she vanished quietly from public life. Her Flagstaff home was sold. Her TLC contract expired. Her name faded from the headlines she once dominated. The others didn't just survive, they evolved. And for the first time, the Brown family story wasn't about loss, but liberation. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, leave your thoughts below and don't forget to subscribe for what comes next in the Brown family's unfolding legacy.